Wow, way better roll. Way better.
Like, love it. I'm like, ready?
Okay. This is Haley. And this is Bailey. And you're listening to Text Me When You Land. Welcome back to another episode of Text Me When You Land. Haley and I have, I feel like, not sat down to chat in a while, so I'm really excited about today. Haley, what's been going on?
How do I talk? How do we have a conversation?
Right?
It's so
I'm
funny
like,
when
we
you
haven't
go
done
like
this.
so long. Yeah, I'm like, you go so long and you're like get into like this rhythm when you do it consistently. But then when we have to take time apart, it's like, what's a podcast?
Yeah, what? We usually try and record weekly, but we had recorded a lot leading into January because we both had a lot going on. You had your surgery. I was traveling. There's just so many things going on. So we got prepared and ahead. And now we're like, wait, this has been a long time.
No kidding. Yeah. So, Bailey, what's new with you?
We are currently on our cross-country road trip back to California. We haven't been in California since October, so we're super excited. We just spent a week in Nashville, and now we are in Arizona, and we're meeting my parents in Vegas tomorrow. Oh, wait, no, in 2 days. And then we'll be back in California.
5 months. You've been gone 5 months. That's almost half a year.
I know. It feels like a while. I feel like we haven't been home in so long. My friends have been literally sending me screenshots, like whoever tracks me, and they're like, you're getting closer. I'm like, I forgot. It's been so long since I've been home and seen everyone.
I know. Everything's so different. I know it's different. It's just what you say when people are gone. Everything's so different now.
It's changed so much.
Totally. That's fun. Well, it sounds good. How's your cross-country? I cannot speak.
Can you talk? That's usually me, so.
Cross-country trip going.
It's been going good. It's been a lot of fun. I feel like the last 2 days have been full driving because we were trying to get to Arizona. So we have a few days here to explore, which I'm really excited about. How are you feeling after your surgery and everything? I know you've been in Colorado for a little bit and you had your surgery. So
I did. I definitely had my surgery. It's been good.
I definitely had that. Yep.
I definitely had surgery. It happened.
It did happen.
I was there. I can witness. It's good. No, I have like a scar on my belly button still, and almost looks like, okay, this sounds weird, but like, you know, babies when they're like born, how they have like
and then when
that
it falls
umbilical
off
part. Yeah, that's what I feel like I have. It's not that big. It's just like tiny, but I can't wear jeans because it rubs raw on it and it hurts. So I'm like, all the stretchy pants. But that's my life. I don't have a problem with that. I think they're comfortable. So, but no, yeah, it's going good. I've been able to exercise finally again, and riveting to see that I can actually move without feeling like I'm
that must
burst.
Feel so good. And it's so good that everything went well and you're recovering well and you had a nice time in Colorado. It was snowy, right?
Yeah, it was snowy. It was really cozy, except I wish it snowed more. It was kind of like, it was negative like 25 one day, and we went outside and I blew a bubble and it froze.
Oh, I saw that on your, I think, story.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this is real. Yeah, it was really cold. Bailey, do you have any hobbies?
I feel like
question.
You have so I don't know.
Hobbies.
Do I though? Do I? Like,
I feel like
guess
you do.
Pilates and running and those kind of things. But I was trying to think of things that I used to scrapbook a lot. I haven't done that in a while. But when we go home, I really want to start doing pottery. I haven't done that in a while. And I thought that would be a fun hobby to pick up. I did it a few times, like a few years ago, and I loved it. But we were just weren't home. Is that the stuff
with that thing that spins?
Yeah.
You like.
I also did it in high school for 2 years, and I loved it.
Cool.
And it was like a lot of fun. So I think that would be something fun to pick up. I do have different hobbies, but I'm excited to pick up a few new hobbies when I get home for sure.
So many choices to choose from. I feel like nowadays, and I also feel like it's easier for girls to have hobbies than guys, but we can get into that later.
I mean, I think I could, maybe question that one because Evan has like 500 hobbies. And I'm like, all right, we can't have any more hobbies. We don't have time in the day for this many hobbies.
I know Bryce has a ton of hobbies, but they're expensive, so he can't do them very often.
Yeah, like he paraglides, he surfs, he kiteboards. Like, I don't know, there's like so many things. And when he wanted to do something else, and I was like, do we have time for that new hobby?
Do we have time? Yeah, it's like, when people, like, wanna have another baby or something, they're like, "Do we have time for this child?" You know, it's like a hobby. "Do we have time for this
Do we
hobby?"
have time to add this in? Like, are we adding in golfing? What are we adding in now?
Wait, Evan golfs?
He golfs sometimes with my dad, but not, like, all the time. That's, like, a
Is he
side
good?
hobby. Evan, are you good at golf? Medium.
Medium.
He shook
Have
his
you ever
hand.
golfed?
No, I just like doing I the
Mini
the
golf?
no, what's it with Evan where you, like, hit him at the range? Oh, I just like doing the driving range.
Top golf?
Yeah, Topgolf. I don't know if I'd
That's
have the
fun.
patience for, like, a whole course. Actually, I did
It
it once
takes
with
a
Evan.
long time. It takes a
Yeah,
long
I
time. Definitely, like, there's a reason they drink while they do it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
From my personal opinion, I mean, the only way to get through that, I'm not a huge I used to be on the golf team when I was in middle school, and that was mainly just because after they went golfing, they went to a clubhouse and they all got really good snacks.
Oh, that's fun.
So,
So that's the
I
reason to
got into
join?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it had those giant pixie sticks.
Ooh,
Have you
those are
ever
good.
seen Do you
Yeah,
remember those? I haven't seen them
yeah.
in years, but they were like and
Yeah, I haven't
everyone
had
always
one in
walked away,
years.
and I was like, "I want one." So, yeah, I
Join the
got my
golf
giant
team.
pixie stick. Yes. I was, I was an interesting soul back then, but yeah, no, I had hobbies, but yeah, now I think I do it. They're just different. I don't get around to some of them.
I'm just different. They're
I'm just
just
different.
different.
Okay, this sounds
I
weird, but I love organizing. Like, is that a hobby?
I don't know, I feel like it could be. I feel like people do that all like, get really into
I
that.
don't I don't know. I
I feel like
definitely
you really like interior stuff too, like refurbishing stuff and those kind of things. I feel like
DIYs.
that's
I'm
yeah,
getting
like
into DIYs.
that's a
Love
hobby.
it. It's funny. I used to not like doing that stuff though because I just didn't have the patience for it. I think that's just because of the ADD. Like I would start something, but then I wouldn't finish it. But I'd come back to it later and like tinker at it, and then I. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I'd play instruments and stuff. But yeah, my hobbies come and go. I used to be really into baking, which apparently is the number one most common hobby
Oh.
in the United States.
That's interesting. I feel like having hobbies is such a good thing, and I think that's something I really wanna start implementing. I have a lot of different hobbies, I guess, like working out and those kind of things, but I do wanna try, like, ceramics or something where it
More
almost, like,
leisure.
just yeah, just, like, where I step out a little more because I feel like I love working out and that's in my daily routine, but something maybe, like, once a week that I do, or I feel like with our jobs, it's so easy to get caught up in working late or doing these things, and I think having those hobbies is a good way to, like, check out and disconnect and makes us do that. And I think it's a really fun way to find, like, a community. I went to CrossFit, which is another working out, but I went to CrossFit and they were so nice, and I was like, "This is such a fun community," and I think you can meet a lot of people from doing different hobbies that you like.
It's true. And the same thing, like with you said, it gives you a chance to like step away from like if you do like social media. But I feel like also there's like that pressure to
To
also
record it.
film your new
Yeah,
hobby. Yeah.
it's
I'm like,
I know, it's the balance of, like, how much do we record? But then you feel like I actually saw somebody post this the other day, was like, "I feel like I have to record anything interesting I do." And that's something I've had to learn how to step back and not feel like that because then you just feel like you're thinking about recording and work all the time versus just being able to step away and do the, like, DIYs you like to do without feeling like you have to record it. Just get in the moment and put music on and not feel like you have to be recording it is really nice. Which sounds so silly if you don't record everything, but once you start recording a lot, you definitely understand, I
yeah.
feel like.
I feel like I wonder for people who like photography, like but then also if they do social media, that would be hard. I think finding that balance because if your hobby, like I call it, I mean, a few episodes or seasons ago, I referred to our jobs as a hobby job for me because it was enjoyable, it was fun, I felt like a hobby more than a job. And I mean, when you look at those people who have those hobby jobs, I feel like it could be even harder to find that balance between what you doing something you love versus working.
Do you ever feel like you wish social media was just a hobby and like it used to be versus feeling like it's your job too?
I actually feel the opposite right now. I feel
What,
like
like it's more your hobby?
it's more of a hobby than my job, and I need to get more serious about it.
But that is a
And
nice feeling because I feel like it used not that it's not my creative outlet, but when I was a
yeah,
preschool teacher, it was like this side project and there wasn't as much pressure on it in a way where when the pressure comes onto it, it adds a whole different layer, and that's something I feel like I've been working on the last few months is finding like, okay, yes, it's good to have pressure and push yourself, but also good to enjoy it and step back, and
That's what makes us
it's
such a great duo, though, because you help push me in work aspects and I help push you to relax.
Yeah,
It's a good
exactly.
balance. Like, when we're
Yeah.
together, though, we definitely, like, are really good about doing our work, getting it done, and then we're really good about stepping back and being like, "Okay, let's go do something fun. Let's hang out. Let's chill." I mean, and that's what I think a lot of people miss the mark on, especially as we've seen, like, with time and age and, I was telling you before we started this podcast, we were raised at the birth of cell phones. I mean, it's been our whole life pretty much. I mean, do you even remember when your mom got a phone? Do you remember when she got like a fancy cell phone and you're like, "Whoa."
No, I do remember though having like the slide phone before like the iPhones when it was
Oh
just
yeah,
like
it was a
for
sick phone.
texting, and yeah, I loved those and
Yeah.
like the different colors, and I
You want
think I had like
you
a
want to know something
green
really
and a
weird?
blue.
So, I wasn't allowed to text on my cell phone when I first got it. And then when I was allowed to text, my parents said they had it set up where I could only text 10 people. And so
Oh,
I
interesting.
I did 5 family members and 5 friends. This is funny. So when one time I was texting my boyfriend and I was texting him so much that my parents got a little like, "Okay, it's time to like stop it." So they said, "What's his phone number?" And I gave him his phone number and they were gonna remove it so that way I would take a step back from how much I was on my phone. But they ended up removing one of my other friend's phone number and I didn't tell him. I was like, "Oh my gosh." I thought it was so sneaky. But it's just funny how those things like work and like you look at how it is today and it's like you can't do that on an iPhone now. Like you can text
Mm,
whoever
yeah.
you want. I mean, maybe you can with children parental controls. I don't know. But I was just like, I wonder like I asked you, do you think that because of times now back before phones and like took away from like all of that today, is it simpler now or then just because we didn't know any better? Does that make sense? I kind of like jumbled that up.
I think so. I do think it was a lot simpler then. I think everything is so compared and so is it Instagram worthy? Is it this? I actually think that a lot when I see places like I've traveled and I was like, I didn't really take content there because I didn't do it. And I feel like a lot of things like people go just for the content versus like actually, and that, don't get me wrong, it's fine to go do some of those spots, but instead of like enjoying it, I think so much pressure is on seeing these things on social media or keeping up with your phone or making sure you always have your phone on you. So I think it used to be a lot simpler, but I think there's pros and cons to both. I mean, there's so many amazing things that come from it today too. I was actually thinking about this when we were driving to our spot because I used to go to Lake Powell when I was younger, and at the time there was no cell service, and as we kept going, there was cell service, and I remember how nice it was even back then, like, when our phones didn't work because everybody just actually disconnected and
You had to
wasn't sitting
unplug.
on their phones. Yeah, you had to unplug. So, I think it was simpler, but I think there's pros to it now too. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, there's balance with everything. I mean, if too much of anything, I think is not good. And I think that like I was talking with was it my sister or my dad? I don't remember, but I was like sometimes it's okay to like unwind at the end of the day and scroll on our phones and watch reels and sometimes that's a fun bonding thing to do because you like share with family and it's like you laugh together, but then it's like at what point does it become too much, like when it's like all right now you're just like it's gone too far. So I mean what do you think would be too much when it starts taking away from your other hobbies or being with other people and hanging out, like when you're at Lake Powell, like when do you think too much is too much?
I think it's when it takes over, like when there could be a really great conversation you can be having and you pick up your phone and you get distracted super easily. Or, every single night that's all you're doing. I think there's a balance. Like there's nights where Evan and I are like, wow, we are so tired. Like we just don't want to think, but we want to like we literally will scroll reels together, like you said. And like but then there's times where it's really nice where we put our phones down and we watch a show. Like, yeah, it's still some kind of thing you're watching, but it's like switching it up where I feel like sometimes it's so easy to pick up your phone and to scroll, and you see that like you'll be at dinner with somebody and their phone will light up and you pick it up. Like my eyes like I can't help it. Like my phone lights up, I check it. And I think that's when it starts to like if you're not able to disconnect is when it becomes a problem and it starts to take away from conversations because I think sometimes when you're just sitting there, you end up talking more than you think. First, when you're sitting on your phone, you stop those conversations, which it can also bring up different conversations. But again, like you said, it's that balance.
It really is. So one of the huge things I've noticed is that people have reverted to their phones more in days. That's not a thing. Nowadays. Wait, I'm sorry. Your cup just distracted me hardcore. Is that it looks like In and Out.
No, it's the simple modern one.
Oh, I
Every
was like, that is the
everyone
biggest In and Out cup I've ever seen.
everybody always thinks that though. It's so funny. Literally anytime I have it, and they're like, "Is that In and Out?" And like I was in Florida, I was like, "They don't have In and Out here, but I can't wait to get In and Out."
You guys gotta try Freddy's. You gotta try that too.
We'll have to
Whenever you
try it. We haven't
can
tried that.
find it. Anyway, sorry. What were we talking about? Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. So I find doing things that some people say should be done in person over the phone, over texting. And my mom, like for example, she was texting one of her someone that like helps her and works for her, and I can't remember if she fired her over texting. And I was like, "You're texting her over and you're like," she's like, "No, no, no." Like it's like she's like, "I'm talking to her right now, but she's like being really snotty to me and I don't want to have that confrontation with her in person." Like if she was being respectable, like and respectful. I can't talk today. If she's being respectful and like understanding or like wanting to have a conversation, then yeah, totally. But when people aren't going to listen and they're going to be combative, then yeah, I think texting would be fine. And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that could be like there's like a boundary or like a line
I
with that.
yeah, I'm kinda I feel like I could go back and forth because I feel like anytime I bring something up maybe with you, you'll, like, immediately call me, and I think there's a lot that gets misinterpreted over text, and my mom, even when I was younger, it's funny, I wanted to text and quit my job at Baskin-Robbins, and she was like, "No, you need to go in and deal with it," and that was such a good thing I did because it teaches you, like, even if it's uncomfortable and it's not the best, you are dealing with it respectfully and, like, you're not just hiding, like, just, like, texting something, and I think even if somebody is being not nice over the phone, I think it can be read wrong. Like, there's been times where I read something and I'm like, "Wow, that was rude," and it was like, "Oh, that's totally not what it meant." Like, you could read it this way too. And I think being able to have those conversations in person, even though they're hard, it's good to be uncomfortable. It's good to learn how to do that, even if it's like you said, like, not the best situation. And you, I feel like, are really good at that. Like, I'll be like, "This is hard," and you're like, "Immediately call me," where I'm more like, "Oh, I could probably just text you about it," and you're like, "No, we're just gonna talk. It's gonna be over in, like, 10 minutes if we talk."
We can talk now. And then you can read tones. Like, and if it's going to be done over texting too, I will throw in a ton of emojis. So they're like, help vibe out the tone. But sometimes that still doesn't help. Like sometimes a smile when you say something that could be misinterpreted could be like,
I didn't I didn't know that, but I did that the other day, and Evan was like, "No, that comes off as" I can't even remember what he said, and I was like, "What? I thought that added a little, like, fluff and nice," and he was like, "No, that makes it sound, like, not
sounds like
nice." I
you're
was like,
being kind of
"Darn
a
it."
wench.
Yeah, I
Like,
was like
not
and
nice.
and everybody texts so differently. Like, how
It's
I
so true.
text, Evan is like, "People have to learn your how you text," and I'm like,
You
"This is
rapid
true."
fire. You like text
Yeah.
as you think. And
Yeah,
like,
and it
you
doesn't
like,
make sense, and you definitely learn I literally will say that to people now because I'll be like, "You'll learn how I text because it probably won't change because I'm usually that's just how I text."
yeah,
Like
for example, you'll shoot off a text and then you'll shoot off another text, another one. But like, I'll respond and I'll go type, 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 and then paragraph, type, 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 new
yeah.
paragraph, like rather than sending new ones. And now I found myself doing the same thing you do. I'm like, do, 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 do.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's funny how you pick up on those little things from other people. But yeah, I
It's
definitely
funny
agree. There's
too
a,
sorry, I was gonna say it's
no, go
funny too
ahead.
because I think that's how I talk. Like, I talk really fast, and I think it's just how my brain runs really fast, so, like, as I'm texting, I'm just really quickly, it's, like, the same thing. Like, if you're talking to me too, I'm a quick I talk everyone says it, like, "You talk so fast." I'm like, "That's just
It's
me."
funny, I've never noticed your speed of talking until people pointed it out.
Yeah. I've been
But
told since I was little.
I mean, I talk fast when I'm nervous or, like, excited or, like, if I have to give, like, a speech or something. I don't know, I'm not really giving speeches nowadays, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
I remember I would, but I don't know why I didn't pick that up. I feel like that's something that I mean, most people would pick up, but I I thought you talked at a good pace, so
Well, thanks.
maybe if you didn't talk fast for me, I would, like, get distracted, and I could keep up because you do talk fast. I mean, that's an
I f
ADD thing.
I feel like too when I slow down, my thoughts come out wrong. Like, I overthink it versus, like, when I just am, like, talking what I'm thinking, it comes out,
Ah,
like,
that's
what
a
I
good
mean,
point.
which is interesting. I've tried to slow down and then I'm like, wow, that did not make sense.
It reminds me, so my grandma, she's very expressive with her hands when she talks. Like she cannot have a conversation without moving her hands
That's me,
around
I
when
feel
she
like.
yeah. Yeah. And so we did a challenge one night. She had to sit on her hands and she could not talk. She was like stumbling and like slurring and we're like, can you really not talk? And she's like, I can't think. Like, please, can I have my hands back? I'm like, yes, you can have your hands back. You're the one sitting on them. It was pretty funny, but it's just one of those things that reminded me of when you have like when you're used to something, you just don't realize it until someone calls you out for it. Okay, so since we were talking about hobbies, I think it would be a good idea to list some fun hobbies and maybe not like the stereotypical ones like painting or like
Why
I
did
don't
my
know,
brain
photography.
immediately go to painting? Literally, like when you're like hobbies, I was like painting. I don't even
Really?
paint. I think
I
because I'm
don't
looking
either.
at this. I'm looking at my this. I don't know. You can't see it unless
And
you're
the one
watching.
behind you.
And the one behind me. So I was like painting.
Painting. We'll do painting. Okay. Let's see
And
here. I have the list of the most common hobbies in front of me according to
what about board
statista.
games? Is that a hobby?
Yeah, it is. It's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's a fun one. I feel like
Do you want me just
I
to
like
read the
board games.
top ones? There's not that
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
Okay, so from most to least hobbies,
Okay.
it goes cooking, baking, and then reading, pets, video gaming, outdoor activities, traveling, DIYs, socializing, board/card games, gardening and plants, meditation and wellness, photography, tech and computers, cars and vehicles, doing sports and fitness, writing, making music, other, and don't know.
Why did we say we don't have hobbies? Because I feel like we have so many hobbies when you read that, like traveling, getting outdoors,
I guess my
exercise,
whole
but
life is a hobby.
and I was
I
like,
have a instead of a
uh,
hobby job, I have a hobby life.
hobby lifestyle. But those are fun ones. I was trying to think of anything that you didn't say, but I don't
I mean, they're
because
very generalized with
yeah.
categories. So we could say like some within those categories. Like for example, socializing, like that's very
Well, I think a fun one that we do is we try and do during the holidays, like a friendship hobby. Done painting pumpkins. We've done
gingerbread houses.
gingerbread houses. We've tried to do something like that, and I think that's a fun
New
hobby.
Year's, we cheered in New Year's together.
Yeah. Valentine's Day's coming up. Keep your eye out for
Whoop, whoop.
that.
Out of all of these hobbies, I'm curious, what is your least favorite? Like, what's a hobby? Like, if someone asked you if you wanted to go do that, you'd be like, no.
Probably car stuff, not like
I was
but
gonna
like
say that for you, car stuff. Like, what about
yeah.
like, race car driving? Would you do that?
I mean, that would be yeah, I would do that. That would be fun, but I'm thinking more like working on cars and, like, really excited about that process.
I
That's
would
just a
not
no.
want to get in any car that I've worked on.
Yeah, I do not trust myself. What about you?
I mean, yeah, I could probably vouch for that one. It's a good one.
You know, it's a hard one. I feel like that
You know
one
what, a
I
hobby I really want to get into, but don't find the time
what?
is writing. I really want to write like a little book.
I love writing. That was one of my favorite things growing up, and
Yeah,
if I just
I
could
loved
sit down and, like
English.
yeah, me too, that was my favorite subject. Sit
Me
down and
too.
write more. I think we write a lot this sounds silly too, like, write a lot with, like, caption stuff, like, every day we're doing things, so I'm
Oh,
sure,
I
like,
hate captions.
but, like, sitting down and writing, you're like, "I already did that today."
Just like finding new ways,
I've
like
been
copyright
writing
stuff. Yeah.
longer captions just with, like, our travels and, like, detailed caption, and I was like, "Wow, these are just like, they've been too long." Like, I have to shorten them, but I think it's because 'cause we've been driving. I have time to write them more and,
I
like,
got
think on
time to
it
like
versus, like
make them thorough and nice. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot like to choose from, but I'm curious to hear like what unique hobbies people have. We should have people comment their
yeah, that'd be
what
fun.
unique
I'd love to
hobbies. I think
see
there's
hear
definitely
unique
there's
ones.
so many.
There's so many.
Like
Those are
someone
just,
did
like, the surface.
origami. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. That is cool. I've seen, like, the knitting where you, like, knit is it crochet or knit little animals? I think those are so cute. I'm like, if I
I
had the
mean, there's
patience for
both.
that,
My
I would do
mom
it.
is doing one blanket right now. I
Oh,
don't know which
cute.
one. There's three of them. There's crocheting, there's knitting, and then there's I don't know. Something with
Then
a
that.
something where you I don't know, you just like pick it at it. I don't know. Anyway, we'll forget that.
Anyway, throw that away like you're
Just
like you're throwing it out.
yeah, obviously I'm very educated in that aspect. But yeah, I think that it's just really cool to hear all these hobbies. I think that we should find a hobby together too. I think that'd be
Yeah,
fun
that would
to
be so
have
fun.
people find a hobby to do with your friends.
Yeah.
Kind of like you were saying with the whole painting pumpkins and like having that little fun. If you have your long distance friendship, I mean, doing those things together can definitely be considered a hobby. Like, aren't you watching The Bachelor right now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
like
usually don't, but we're into it this season. 2 whole
maybe
episodes.
I'll start watching it so we have something to talk
I've
about.
almost wanted you to just because I wanna be able to talk about it. I'm like, "Wait, this is kinda
Okay,
fun."
I'll do it.
I have
I'll
so
do it.
many
What
thoughts
episode
on
is it
it.
on?
2.
Oh, it just started.
Yeah, it just started, and we already, like
Oh, that's easy.
Evan and I were talking, we're like, "Who's your favorite? What's this? Like, how do they" like, this guy has made out Evan's like, "Spoilers," but that's not a huge spoiler. But I was like, "How do you make out with so many people in one night? Doesn't everybody make out differently? Like, aren't you confused?" Yeah, it's like, this is just my brain can't wrap
Mm.
around it, but it is interesting to watch just because there's so many questions, so we should do
I
that.
totally agree. And you know what I never understood about The Bachelor? I know that like, this is totally a side note. Maybe we'll talk about this in a whole other episode. But like how they're all friends.
They're not. This season, whew,
They're
after
not?
maybe, but, like,
Like
not
I
right now.
love
They're
it.
all
Don't get me
catty.
wrong. But like I don't
I
know.
feel like
Like if you and I were dating the same person,
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
that would
I
not go
definitely
well.
I don't know. I don't
I feel
know.
like it's more after they become good friends, or maybe you're, like, so in it because you're there alone and, like, I think we don't see everything. They have to be spending a lot of time together, so you probably gravitate towards a few people to feel comfortable, and then
I would
that's how you
definitely
probably
we
build.
gravitate would I think we would gravitate towards each other
Yeah,
just because,
but then
you
you're
know.
dating the same guy and you're, like, talking about the same guy. Sounds so weird.
Yeah, so I was like making out this guy.
Yeah.
Well, great. So if you watch The Bachelor, let us know if that's a hobby of yours. I'll start it. Anyway, this is great. We'll catch you on the flippity flop.